Yeah.
Ibarra's goal was like,
That was,
It was super line.
that was like unbelievable.
I was thinking about back in the NASL days. That is his best goal I've ever seen.
Yeah, that's
Don't you think?
probably up there.
I was trying to think,
It's
and
gotta be
obviously
up
I'm not
there,
going to find highlights of them in NASL on the internet.
Yeah.
He had some good goals for us.
He did.
Yeah.
But I just think that one was, he knew exactly where he was, and he let it go, and
He
it
did.
went in.
Yeah, it was nice. He put the right amount of power onto it, just get it over the goalie's head a little bit.
I will say that their goalie was not exactly on his game,
Yeah, he sucks.
but it was fantastically
Yeah,
placed.
yeah.
It was better than Ramirez's. That was just a little
Ramirez was it was a little
pinball.
pinball
Like
action.
that one was more Ibsen, I think, that assisted
Yeah,
on
yeah,
that
yeah,
one.
yeah.
He really set that
Yeah.
goal.
And so this is going into what I wanted to talk about.
Yeah.
I think the big thing with both of their goals was neither of them would have happened had the other not made the run they made.
Yes, the runs have been great.
Because when Ibsen intercepted that ball and he pushed forward, Ibarra came running through the box and drew two defenders off. And the only reason that ball trickled into the net was because the one center back that was supposed to be helping out was
Yeah.
far enough away that he couldn't get to the ball.
And those Ibarra and Ramirez have been making great runs the past couple of weeks.
Yeah.
If you watch the highlights, because you've been watching it when you watch games at TCF Bank, you can't see the runs that I can see on
Right.
TV, and I can see those runs, and it's like these guys have made some fantastic runs. Ibarra especially has some great moves where he's ducking under two guys and then taking off, and he's right there.
Yep.
And it's been great. I haven't seen anything like this for probably a couple of years now with this team.
Well, I know you guys brought up about Ibarra and his position changes and stuff, but last year, every time we talked, we're like, he's done. He will not be on this team next year. He will not be on this team next year. And now it's like,
But he
holy
needed
buckets.
You know what the funny thing is? He has played better now since Darwin came on board because Darwin takes a lot of the pressure off Ibarra, and Darwin can make moves, and he can do his little foot shot.
So can I come to Adrian's defense now? Because this is perfect timing.
You can. Yeah.
So, I've been seeing a lot of crap the last couple days about how, particularly 55-1 made a comment that NASL fans should feel vindicated over the fact that they were arguing that Heath was wrong in not playing Ibarra and Ramirez.
Yeah.
And it's easy to blame Adrian for player selection. However, at the same time, I think it goes back to the front office.
It does. Yeah, of course it does.
So the argument is Ibarra wasn't producing. He gives him minutes, he's producing. He gave him minutes after the two players that were going to play before Ibarra were injured.
Mm-hmm.
So it's not that Adrian chose not to give him minutes. He gave him minutes where he could give him minutes, which happened to be a position that Ibarra doesn't excel at. Even in the game Saturday, there was a moment where Ibarra spent a bunch of time on the left wing, and he went completely non-existent.
Mm-hmm.
He doesn't belong on the left wing.
No.
And so when we look at these arguments that, Adrian doesn't have a player select, he's selecting the players that you guarantee the front office is expecting him to play.
Correct.
Yeah.
And now whether that's okay or not, I mean, maybe a manager should stand up to the front office. But the reality is that's how it went. Mm-hmm. As soon as Molino went down, Ibarra moved to the center.
Yep.
All of a sudden we started seeing glimpses of him performing the way he should be performing.
Mm-hmm.
Then Finley went down, he moved over to the right. Mm-hmm. And we continued to see him flourish. As soon as Darwin came in, all of a sudden he had that linchpin piece in the midfield that helped him be able to play off of him.
Yep.
It drew defenders toward Darwin, allowing Miguel to be a little bit more active. And that's how it works. I don't think that we should be feeling like we're somehow superior to Adrian Heath.
No.
Because and that's ultimately what that comment 55 was saying.
Yeah.
It's that we maybe saw where Miguel should perform because we've seen it in the past. But based on who we had as personnel to play, he just wasn't going to get those minutes where he needed to be.
And we don't know what goes into personnel decisions in the front office. We don't know how much what Heath has. I mean, the Molino thing, I'm sure that Heath wanted Molino.
I guarantee.
That's
because of the fact
before.
that he
knew him.
played with him. Yeah,
but other than that, we don't know how much pull he has with the front office.
Right.
He's playing the best guys he sees out there,
right?
And regardless of position, I think we've seen that in the last 2 years. He'll play guys out of position if he thinks that they're good to play there.
And Calvo is a fantastic example of that. So going back to that argument, the other part was Christian Ramirez. They were trying to make a point that Christian didn't get enough minutes last year and didn't get enough respect last year. And to me, he played over 1,200 minutes more last season than Dinladi did. Their goal rates were identical. Dinladi scored a goal every 173 minutes. Ramirez scored a goal every 170 minutes.
Yeah.
So when I look back at that, I say, what? I mean, when you look at Adrian's decision to play Dinladi when he played him and Christian when he played him, it makes complete sense, and it worked out. They were pretty much identical in production. I know this year there have been some questions about what was Dinladi was started against Seattle. Why wasn't Christian started? The argument was, well, Seattle's a high-pressure team, so you play the faster forward.
Correct.
That makes sense. I mean, it didn't work because we sucked against one of the worst teams in the West. But, it's retrospect. You can't really...
You have to trust that he's going to put the best guys on the field that he thinks are going to win.
Right.
And the second guess him is kind of like, you can second guess him a little bit, but he's given those players, and that's what he has to work with.
Exactly.
That's the way it works.
Do you follow Callum Williams on Twitter?
I do.
Oh, okay. Here's what he said after last night's game. I'm sure Adrian now has a clear picture of where his team is and what kind of additions are needed. And then he goes on, see you after. Now, do you think he saw more of it during the KC game? Because this is like we were just saying, he only has a certain personnel. He can't go in and go get what he needs. He's got what he's got, and he's going to have to live with it. And this is every sport. Okay?
Yeah.
I think the coaches, managers, whatever they're called in their respective sports, get too much crap in the final decision. All they're doing is sending them out there, and if they're not producing, they're just the GOAT. Right. And they're gone. It's like that in every sport. Football, baseball, soccer, hockey, lacrosse. Even.
Right. Yeah, I think that's a good point. I mean, I always like how, especially in baseball, when the managers just get ripped to shreds for how their teams perform. The most that a manager can do for is select your batting order and the players that you have available.
Try to go.
And beyond that, it's not like he's out there swinging the bat for them.
Okay, because Tom Kelly had 2 great years. Besides that, what did he have? And everybody thinks he was a great guy.
Well,
that's the point. I mean, then you get Gardenhire.
That's a whole another argument. I mean, he had some great.
He had great talent though. Tom Kelly.
He did.
Yeah,
I think first year and everything.
Yeah.
And
that's the front office. Front office does
all different then.
Yeah. As a manager like Adrian Heath, you can't really do anything about what you got.
Right.
I mean, Molino's probably the only guy he ever pushed for, and the other guys in front office said, "Hey, we're getting these guys, and that's that." So I want to swing it to Calvo though, because on the last game, I was watching the game at home, and the announcers were talking about Calvo going to the World Cup and how he, in this last game, he looked like he was putting himself out there and not playing back. And I'm going, we just talked about this. We talked about the fact that it seemed like the last couple games before the KC game and the Montreal game that he was kind of playing a little bit, light because he didn't want to get injured. He didn't want to, screw himself up. And he actually had a fantastic game.
This is a game that should have been a win, though. And I think that's why, because Kansas City, play back, do what you need to do. You know what? Your last broadcast.
We talked about this, though, Johnny, is the fact that the couple games before that, he had made some very monumental mistakes.
Yeah.
Yeah, especially against San Jose.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Who is about as bad as Montreal. Mm-hmm. But for whatever reason, San Jose has actually played us very well.
Yeah.
I thought it was interesting because you can't think you can't think it was just he decided, okay, I'm gonna play. I think somebody told him.
I think he told him.
Yeah.
I think he told him, you better start playing better, or I'm not going to I'm not going to have you out there.
He probably would be fine with that, though. Especially if he
I don't.
comes back after
No,
the cup.
not a young.
Games of the cup, and he'll be back.
Not a young guy like that, though.
I kind of wonder. I kind of wonder what would happen to a guy. He's pretty much. I mean, he's guaranteed a spot with Costa Rica. But if he would have been sat this weekend,
Yeah.
you have to think that one that's gonna hit him mentally. Mm-hmm. But two, that's got to go into Los Tico's manager's brain and say,
Yeah.
one of my starting 11 just got sat, and he hasn't been performing very well because obviously he's paying attention to that.
Yeah.
And now all of a sudden, his manager's sitting him. I mean, that's got to kind of eat at him. So I guarantee you, you're right. Heath said, "Do it, play."
Maybe he heard the podcast.
Yeah, maybe.
Maybe it's in the podcast. He's like, oh god, I can't be playing like shit.
He was like, "Holy shit!" David Sterling just said that he wants me kicked off the team
Because,
I need
yeah.
to play.
Well, I mean, we had a running joke there for a while. It's pretty much Calvo did it. I mean,
Yeah.
everything that was wrong. I mean, he had some very monumental mistakes for a couple weeks there.
And he was flawless against Montreal.
The last two games,
Yeah,
I saw absolutely no problems with his play the last two games.
yeah. That's good.
So let's go into the Lamar Hunt Open Cup.
Right.
We are supposed to play. We're going to play Cincinnati.
Correct.
Okay. Game is supposed to be here at TCF Bank Stadium. It is not going to be here anymore. It is going to be in Cincinnati. And
All
why?
within a couple hours.
And why is that? Because the University of Minnesota and Minnesota United couldn't get on the same flipping page.
Right.
And because pretty much right now we're renting TCF Bank from the University of Minnesota. And we supposedly did not go to them before this and say, hey, could we have a match here on Wednesday, was it June 5th?
Yep.
6th. Okay. We didn't ask them if we could have a match on June 6th at TCF Bank.
Right.
And after it was announced we were going to have a match here, we then went to them and said, hey, we're going to get a match. And University of Minnesota said, nah, not so fast. We can't let you have a match that game.
Right. Yeah.
Do those tickets sell, though?
Of course they do.
Do they sell?
Why wouldn't they?
We kind of...
I
Because
think
you thought it was going to be not a
I don't
sale.
think we would have 18,000
No.
Cincinnati, yes. They
if
fill
they
it up.
travel. If they actually travel,
Which they
we might hit 18,000.
They might have.
Yeah. Which I mean they're pretty cool fan base.
They are...
We won't know now. will we?
Yeah.
Well, when we watch
at least
the stream on the internet.
Hold on. At least next year, we don't have to worry about this problem because we'll have a new
right.
stadium.
And that's the big thing that is going to be really fantastic about Allianz is we can just do whatever the hell we want. Beside the fact that I hate TCF for a soccer
Yeah.
stadium.
But
But yeah, I still think somebody didn't think properly with that.
Somebody decided they didn't need to ask permission.
Yeah.
I
We
mean,
did-
but that's higher up, though. I mean, that's
Right.
that's very high up in the organization.
Right.
This is the U.S. Open Cup. This is not. I mean, this is kind of a big deal.
And honestly, for Minnesota, it's the best opportunity to win silverware.
Yeah, exactly.
Because so many MLS teams just kind of say,
Yeah.
Yeah, we don't care.
And, we could act, well, of course, last year we said, too.
That we both said it's a useless cup, and it's like now all of a sudden maybe it is different. Maybe
Yeah, we got whooped, 4-0 at Kansas City last year?
Yeah, well,
it's like big deal. Move on.
Yeah, we were like half reserves. It was probably like a C team. I mean, I understand the argument that, we're going to play for the league. But at the same time, it's a game. Mm-hmm. I mean, just play your guys. Maybe rest a couple. I mean, we don't have to play a full squad. But don't throw out a C team.
Well, when that game happened, most of our guys would have been gone anyway. The good ones.
That's a good
well,
point.
that is good.
It was an
good point.
international break.
I mean, it was a break.
International.
And it's going to be the same way this time.
Yeah, I mean, this time we're not.
Well, we only have Calvo gone.
Calvo's only got. Yeah, he's only got to be gone.
Well, luckily Scotland's not in it. That's a different topic.
Well, but so it was a major screw up by the United, and a major
I think
screw
so.
up by the University. I mean, the University of Minnesota. I mean, they hold all. I mean, they hold all the cards with that stadium.
Right.
They're the ones who are the owners of that stadium. They can do whatever they want.
Right.
But to not ask beforehand and say, hey, there's potential we could be playing a home game here, can we do it, and not even have that kind of confirmation, kind of pisses me off a little bit.
Well, I kind of